any doubt, you ask question.
On camera, Panavi. Panavi, ni camera on cheyamantannam sir.
Sir, you speak.
Okay, sir. Good evening, sir. Today my seminar topic is based on the lesson The Maid Servant, which was written by Lee Hunt.
Okay.
So, coming to the introduction, Lee Hunt is a prolific poet, essayist, and a journalist, and was a central figure of the Romantic period in England. As a poet, he played a major role in freeing the couplet from the rigidity of neoclassical practice. Coming to the lesson, The Maid Servant, the author Lee Hunt tries and gives us a perspective by portraying how a maid servant should be, her appearance, her attire, behavior, passion towards work, etc. in a beautiful manner. In this lesson, the author gives us a glimpse about the life of a maid servant. The maid servant who is young and she got married and became domestic. That is, she is not having a distinct character from the original one. She is not a maiden anymore. Now, coming to the household, she has gained some responsibilities which will affect her work and also her diligence towards work. The clothing of maid servant is a second essential part in this lesson. The Lee Hunt, the poet, portrayed her dressing in such a way that her dress appearance and all gives her how she do her work. The clothing of the maid servant was always more comfortable. Loose clothes and her dresses were dirty. She was always casual and had a handkerchief with her. The maid servant uniform in later case became an ordinary dress, a stuff gown. She had always been ready to get into work as soon as she got commands by her master or mistress. She has to put her diligence to the work, and the maid servant lesson is one of the admirable works of Lee Hunt. Coming to my topic, that is the maid servant by Lee Hunt is anyway different from the counterparts to the world over? Yes, it is certain different. The maids of Britain enjoyed certain priorities while coming to the maids to remaining countries. So, it's done.
Sir.
Yes, sir, I'm done, sir.
Super sir, baat cheppindi.
Try to tell super words.
Should I add more words, sir?
Try to speak at this. Try to speak one more time. Okay, who is the second one? Okay, what is your seminar topic, Babu? Aditya, Babu, Madhu, or else Pranavi?
Sir.
Try to note down who are speaking on the seminar. Please note down and ultimately you put a notice who are speaking on the particular thing.
సార్ మీకు ఫోటో పంపించాలి ఎవరెవరు చెప్పారో
లేదు యూ నోట్ డౌన్ లిజన్ ఎవ్రీబడి అండ్ వాళ్ళ నెంబర్ నోట్ చేసుకోవాలి లేదు లాస్ట్ లో పెడుతూ కానీ అది
ఓకే సార్
ఓకే ఇప్పుడు ఆదిత్య ఎవరు వస్తారని అన్నారు అమ్మా లైన్
ఆదిత్య అన్మ్యూట్ చేసిరా ప్రణవి నువ్వు రికార్డ్ చేస్తున్నావు అందరివి
చేస్తున్నాను
అందరివి చేసే
ఓకేనమ్మా ప్రణవి రికార్డ్ చేయమ్మా
చేస్తున్నా సార్
ఓకే ఓకే
Sir, can I start my seminar topic?
యా
ఓకేనమ్మా స్పీక్ ఆన్
Good evening, sir. This is Dasu Renuka Lakshmi, student of 1/5. Today, my seminar topic is Gandhiji's experience as a lawyer, sir.
yes.
So, firstly, Mahatma Gandhi sailed for England on 4th September in the year 1888 to study law and become a barrister. And after he went to England, a span of 9 months, He took all his subjects in one examination and he gets passed in every examination. And with the passing of that examination, he was called to the bar on 10th June 1891 and was enrolled in the High Court of England the next day, that means the 11th June. And a day later, he sailed home after his return to India. He started practice as a lawyer at first in the High Court of England, at the first High Court of Bombay, and a little later Rajkot, but did not make a much headway of his profession. So it was only when the hands of destiny guided his steps to South Africa that he soon made his mark as a lawyer and as a public worker. Gandhiji practiced as a lawyer for over 20 years before he gave up his practice of the profession in order to devote all his time and energy to public service. So the Gandhiji's valuable experience and skill that he acquired in the course of his large and lucrative practice stood him in the good stead in fighting his battles with the South Africa and British government for securing political, economic and social justice for his fellow countrymen. So basically Gandhiji was not business, but he is an idealistic person. Gandhiji went to South Africa in April 1893 and stayed for a whole year in Pretoria. And there he gets connected with a case called Sheikh Ratu Abdul, who was involved in a civil suit with his near relative Sheikh Syed Asif Khan Muhammad, who also stayed in Pretoria. They are also belong to the same area. The year in Pretoria proved to be a most valuable experience in Gandhiji's life. Like that, there are so many instances which Gandhiji realized in his life, and here it was that he had opportunity of learning public work and acquired some measure of his capacity for it. Here it was that a religious spirit within him became a living force, and Gandhiji tried more betterly to be a perfect lawyer and get connected with the cases which are morality and faith in it. Thank you, sir. Sir, I have completed.
Hello?
Sir, I have completed.
You have completed. Try to read some more. Nearly at least 2 paras you have to read it out. Okay, who is the next?
చెప్పండి సార్.
Sir, I'll continue, sir.
సార్ నేను చెప్తాను సార్.
మధు చెప్తావా?
చెప్తాను సార్. నేను పేపర్ ఎత్తుకోవాలి.
బాబు స్పీక్ ఇట్ బాబు. ఓకే.
మిగతా అదే పంపించాం.
పెద్దవాళ్ళు కూడా చెప్పే ముందు వాళ్ళ పేరు నెంబర్ చెప్పి అప్పుడు స్పీక్ చేయండి. రికార్డ్ చేస్తారు కదా అందుకు.
ఓకే సార్. ప్రణవి రికార్డ్ ఆన్ చేయి.
ప్రణవి చెప్పమ్మా. రికార్డ్ ఓకేనమ్మా. ఓకేనమ్మా. ఎవరు స్పీక్ చేసుకుంటావమ్మా ప్రణవి?
Sir, good evening, sir. I am from 1/5 K Madhu, AG. I am telling about AG Gardner. 3 of people who can herd a secret as Mrs. Horse on goal, not for sake of the secret, but the love of secrecy, the satisfaction of feeling that they have got something joyous stuff that they could spend it day without being any the poorer, and then other world enjoy by knowing the gifts of survey secrecy in the mere. Most of us enjoy secrets for the sake of telling them. We spend our secrets as lambs spendthrift spare his money while they are fresh. The joy of creating an emotion in other people is too much for us to surprise them or shock them. Please them and give any the secret with which was interested a liberal and a Solomon request to say nothing about it. Release the luxury of telling the secret and leave the painful duty of keeping it to other fellow. It can't escape. A secret to relieve, but I should not relieve it. Selfish reasons will appear later. I find no satisfaction. Not merely the clearness of the bridge that I reject. I dislike its ostensions and corporate luxury. Eating was the greatest of the pleasures in the life. There is no need to apologize for enjoying a good dinner. Healthy stomach is a holy mind. Take the edge of his hunger, enable him to start even with the other guests. Neither government nor government encouragement in us be higher poetry of the chicken. Menu do not leverage the table. Okay, sir. Done, sir.
నెక్స్ట్ ఎవరమ్మా?
సార్ నేను చెప్తాను. ఒకటి. Myself, I'm Swarupa sir. I'm from 1/5 and my topic is about contempt of court regarding Gandhiji. Proceedings against Mr. Gandhi and Mr. Mahadev Desai. This is on an editor's note on 22nd April 1919. P.C. Kennedy, the district judge of Ahmedabad, addressed a letter to Register of the High Court, Bombay, submitting for a determination of the High Court certain questions regarding the conduct of 2 barristers and 3 pleaders who had taken Satyagraha pledge, and that is of pledge to refuse civilly to evade the Rowlatt Act and such other laws as committee to be therefore after appointed may think fit. Gandhiji as an editor and Sri Mahadev Desai as a publisher of Young India published the said letter with comments there on the issues of Young India dated on 6/8/1919. While the proceedings against those barristers and pleaders under the jurisdiction of the High Court were pleading on 11/12/1919. So the Register of the High Court appealed for a rule nisi calling upon the respondents of Mr. Gandhi and Mr. Desai. So again this proceedings, the rule was heard by the Honorable Justice Martin, Harvard and Kazizi on 3rd March 1920. The editor Mr. Gandhi and the publisher Mr. Desai of the Young India were to show the cause why they should not be committed for contempt having published with comment. So the Advocate General in opening the cases said the proceedings were in the contempt of court against Mr. Gandhi and Mr. Desai, about whose being editor and publisher respectively there was no dispute. It appealed to Mr. Kennedy in April last, finding the certain lawyers in Ahmedabad had signed the Satyagraha pledge. Regarding this, who in turn handed it to Mr. Gandhi on 6th August. This letter was published in his paper under this heading. The article said that the district judge was prejudging the issue. His conduct was described as not ungentlemanly, but something worse. He was said to be fanning the fire of Bolshevism. Justice Mr. Gandhi replied to telegram explaining his inability to attend on appointing against his. The apology from Gandhiji, whereas on 6th April 1919 we have published in Young India of private letter written by Mr. Kennedy, District Judge of Ahmedabad, Register of High Court, Justice at Mumbai, whereas on the same date, Registered addressed a letter to Register expressing his receipt of the notice to take it on 11th of December to be issued for contempt which the proceedings were based. Regarding this, the Gandhiji has given a statement with reference to the rule issued against me. I beg to state as follows. Before the issue of rule, certain correspondence passed between the Register of the Honorable Court and myself on 11th December. Gandhiji said the statement that it was the High Court declared that it was the contempt of court, and I would respectfully draw distinction as a layman between 2 cases. The district judge writes a letter as a complaint and not as a judge. Sir, it's completed.
Completed అమ్మా. Who is the next?
Sir, నేను చెప్తా.
చెప్పమ్మా. Tell your name and topic also.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Srinushree from 1/5. My topic is about an advocate's dilemma. The resolution of independence means the negation of the king, but by practicing in the courts. I express my allegiance to the king. It is impossible for me to undergo the sacrifice of giving up my practice as I have no other source of income, and it would be quite dishonest for me to remain in the Congress after this resolution and continue my practice. My friends in the Congress say that The Congress has not banned the courts. But the question is that by declaring independence, I am infringing by my professional elegance and conduct. My practice does not, of course, affect my being a member of the Congress, but I think it is impossible for a practicing lawyer to remain in both camps. It may be said that the Congress has only declared independence as its immediate objective, but it is not a declaration of independent government. It is only intellectual regularly. I do not see any difference. Please let me know if my view is correct, and if not, why not. The dilemma is there. My sympathy and my opinion are with the advocate, but the agreement is deeper than the advocate has carried it. When I use a postage stamp or a coin bearing the king's portrait, I seem to believe my profession of independence. When I obey a policeman's instructions or pay taxes, I acknowledge the king's authority. And some of these things I could be doing even if we declare an independent parallel government, which we have not as yet. How am I to solve the puzzle? Must I, because I do not or cannot go the whole hog, continue to bear elegance to the king? One escape from the dilemma is to withdraw all such voluntary cooperation as it is possible for me to withdraw, and as it calculated to diminish the prestige and the authority of the group. The Congress could not go further than it did without weaning from it a large number of useful and able workers. Experience has shown that the Congress organization is found where lawyers withdraw their assistance. They have from the very commencement taken the most active and effective part in the Congress. Unfortunate that the other classes still feel powerless to run Congress committees without the assistance of lawyers. They are all officers of the court. They know that foreign rule means by training they are the fittest to carry on political agitation when they are honestly and patriotically moved. They have undoubtedly moved. They have undoubtedly done much for the national movement demands from them. The last sacrifice many, if not all of them, will prove equal to it. Meanwhile, since the Congress has now declared boycott of law courts, the matter results without individual consent. And what we have not got in all India, even 70,000 lawyers, stylers, bricklayers, cobblers, scavengers, and the like should be found willing and able to work Congress committees. The educated few can hasten the event if they will. Thank you. So completed.
Who is the next one? Please join the group.
Next one, Sagarika sir.
Okay, number side. Sagarika.
Sir, I will continue. Sir.
Okay, Chaudhary.
Okay.
Please.
Good evening, sir. I am Chandni from 1/5. My topic is Gandhiji's experience about lawyers and lawyers. Mahatma Gandhi sailed for England on 4th September 1888 to study law and become a barrister. He kept rooms at the Inner Temple, and after 9 months intensive study, he took all his subjects in one examination, which he passed. He was called to the bar on 10 June 1891 and was enrolled in the High Court of England the next day. A day later, he sailed home. After his return to India, he started practice as a lawyer at first in the High Court at Bombay and a little later in Rajkot, but did not make much headway in the profession. It was only when the hand of destiny guided his steps to South Africa that he soon made his mark there as a lawyer and as a public worker. Gandhiji practiced as a lawyer for over 20 years before he gave up to the practice of the profession in order to devote all his time and energy to public service. The valuable experience and skill that he acquired in the course of his large and lucrative practice stood him in good stead in fighting his battles with the South African and British governments for securing political, economic, and social justice for his fellow countrymen. Gandhiji was not a visionary but a practical idealist. As Sir Stafford Cripps has marked, he was so simplistic, combined with his religious outlook, was his lawyer, trained mind, quick and apt in reasoning. He was a formidable opponent in argument. Gandhiji went to South Africa in April 1893 and stayed for a whole year in connection with the case of Sheikh Dada Abdullah, who was involved in a civil suit with his near relative Sheikh Tahir Haji Khan Muhammad, who also stayed in Pretoria. That year's stay in Pretoria proved to be a most valuable Gandhiji's life. Here it was that he had opportunities of learning public work and acquired some measure of his capacity for it. It was Dada Abdullah's case which enabled Gandhiji to realize early in his career the paramount importance of facts. As he observes in the autobiography Facts Mean Truth, and once we adhere to truth, the law comes to our aid naturally. Facts, according to Gandhiji, constituted 3/4 of the law, and if we took care of the facts of the case, the law would take care of itself. As a result of this realization of the paramount importance of facts in Dada Abdullah's case, Gandhiji was never known afterwards to brush aside or slur over a fact, however inconvenient or prejudicial it might seem. Strict adherence to this principle enabled him more than once in a crisis to find a way out of what to all intents and purposes looked like an impenetrable experience. Gandhi learned to regard love not as an intellectual reasoning to make appear white and black, but qualified it. The profession gave him the means to end justice and this in an act of love. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Who's next one?
సాగరిక ఉండిపోయింది సార్.
చెప్పమనండి, లేకపోతే రేపు కూడా మనం కంటిన్యూ చేసుకుందాం బాబు. ఎవరైతే ఉంటారో అందరూ కూడా నిన్నటి వాళ్ళు కూడా రేపు కంటిన్యూ అయిపోవచ్చు.
Sir, can I say?
పేపర్ పట్టుకుని రెడీగా ఉందంట.
ఓకే, లెట్ హర్ కంటిన్యూ.
Sir, చెప్పాలా?
సాగరిక వస్తుంది.
ఓకే.
గాయత్రి కంటిన్యూ చేయండి, తర్వాత నేను చెప్తాను రే. గాయత్రి,
ఓకే.
యూ కెన్ కంటిన్యూ.
Good evening, sir. This is Gayatri, 1/5 NBM Law College. My seminar topic is contempt of court.
ఎస్ఎమ్మ గాయత్రి, నువ్వు సిరియా శ్రీ
Yeah.
గాయత్రివా?
Gayatri Siri, sir.
అచ్చా సిరియా ఉంది నీ పేరు, మళ్ళీ గాయత్రి అని నేను కొత్తగా వల్ల ఫీల్ అయ్యాను అది విషయం. ఓకే, గాయత్రి సిరి చెప్పమ్మా.
Yes. It was on April 13, 1919. The troops had opened fire at unarmed Indians at Jallianwala Bagh. The then governor of Punjab, Michael O'Dwyer, is remembered for his role in the formulation of the Defence Indian Act and in the 1919 Rowlatt Act. The Anti-Rowlatt Act allegation raged across the country and many were killed or injured. Thousands were imprisoned in jail and millions participated and suffered in the Satyagraha Andolan called by Congress. On 22nd April 1919, the district judge of Ahmedabad, B.C. Kennedy, wrote a private official missive to the registrator of the Bombay High Court, informing him that two advocates, Kalidas J. Javeri and Jeevanlal V. Desai, had signed a pledge, and as per Judge Kennedy, such an action was not in keeping with their responsibilities towards the court. The Bombay High Court issued a notice to the due on July 12, 1919, and a copy of District Judge Kennedy's letter was handed over to Jivanlal V. Desai, one of the advocates, who in turn gave a copy to the other respondent, Kalidas J. Javeri. Advocate Kalidas J. Javeri handed over a copy of letter to Mahatma Gandhi, the then editor of Hindu Young India, whose publisher was Mahadev Desai. Mahatma Gandhi published the letter on the front page of Young India. On second page, Mahatma Gandhi wrote an editorial saying that District Judge Kennedy had betrayed himself, someone who was guilty by prejudging the issue, and had pronounced the judgment in advance. His imputation would be ungently manly in a stranger, and is unpardonable in this case, he added. The editor of Young India was asked by the Bombay High Court to explain why the semi official letter and his comments were published even as the case was sub judice, adding that such action amount to interfere in the judicial process. This amount to contempt of court, the High Court held. But Mahatma Gandhi chose to send his clarification in writing. In my humble opinion, I was within the rights as the journalist in publishing the letter and making comments thereon. I believed the letter to be great public importance and one that called for the public criticism. The High Court offered to let Gandhi off provided he published an apology. Gandhiji refused to publish any apology, and when the judiciary was being affected by popular prejudice, he added for good measure in similar circumstances he would not act differently. When the matter came up for hearing on Feb 27, 1920, Mahatma Gandhi declared, I have been unable to accept the advice because I do not consider that I have committed either a legal or moral breach by publishing Kennedy's letter or by commenting on his contents thereof. He also made it clear that Young India had indeed published the letter at his instance, thus assuming direct responsibility. Mahadev Desai too refused to apologize and said the court it may punish him if it is so desired. The refusal to apologize the court unnerved the court. It dwelt on the case laws in great detail, going all the way back to 1746, and concluded that publication of Judge Kennedy's letter when the matter was still being heard in the Bombay High Court was an interference in judicial proceedings and thus amounted to contempt of court. Both Gandhi and Desai were held guilty as charged. Eventually, the Bombay High Court decided to issue a several reprimand and asking Gandhi and Desai not to repeat such behavior again. Thank you.
Sir.
Sir.
Sir,
Question next నువ్వే.
నీకుంటా చూడు.
ఓకే.
సార్ ఉన్నారు కదా.
సార్ వినట్లేనట్టుంది. సార్ లెఫ్ట్ అయిపోయినట్టున్నారు. లెఫ్ట్ అయిపోయారు.
సార్ ఆర్ యు దేర్ సార్?
లెఫ్ట్ అయిపోయారు.
మదన్య ఫోన్ చే, మీ శివయ్యకి ఫోన్ చే.
శివయ్య ఎక్కడికి వెళ్ళాడు?
సార్ 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 ఇది సార్ ఇది
సాగరిక నువ్వు మా అన్నయ్యని డామినేట్ చేయలు ఆ డైలాగ్ లో మాత్రం.
మనం ఏంటో మన సెమినార్
ఏమన్నా చేసుకో అమ్మా. నా పేరు ఎందుకు నేను చేస్తాను నువ్వు మధు?
చదువుకోరా మీరు?
నేను చెప్తాను కదా నా ఛాన్స్ వచ్చినప్పుడు.
ఓన్లీ పాపం పొందుతున్నా బాబు. నెక్స్ట్
చెప్తాను సార్.
నెక్స్ట్ రిగితా ఉంది కదా.
మధు
నెక్స్ట్ ఓకే
రాహుల్కి ఒకసారి ఫోన్ చేసి జాయిన్ అవుతాను అన్నాడు. ఒకసారి ఫోన్ అని చెయ్యు. ఓకేనా?
కంటిన్యూ సార్.
ఓకే అమ్మా ఓకే. రేపు చూసుకోవాలండి హూఎవర్ బ్యాలెన్స్ ట్రై టు రేపు చూద్దాం అమ్మా.
ఇప్పుడు అయిపోయాటండి సార్. ఇంకా
ఏంటమ్మా
ఇప్పుడు అయిపోయాటండి సార్.
ఓకే అయిపోయినట్టే. హూ ఆర్ ప్రెజెంట్ ప్లీజ్ నోట్ డౌన్. టుమారో విల్ జాయిన్. ఓకే ఓకే చంద్ర బాయ్.
ఓకే సార్ బాయ్ సార్.
చెప్పండి, టైం చెప్పండి.
టైమా వెళ్ళిపోయారు. టైం చెప్పండి.
అతను వెళ్ళిపోరు కదా అడిగి ఇప్పుడు అతన్ని వెళ్ళిపోరు కదా అడిగి ఇప్పుడు
పులి అంతసేపు ఉండడు, వెళ్ళిపోతాడు 2 నిమిషాల్లో.
అది పుల్లి కాదురా బాబు, బొజ్జున పిల్లి.